Let's get some more on our top story. Everton have sacked Frank Lampard after Saturday's 2-0 defeat by West Ham left them 19th in the Premier League. Here's Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher in the Monday Night Football studio.
Well, it's been forever and we're back. Monday Night Football, tinged with a little bit of sadness that Frank Lampard has lost his job at Everton, which is the big breaking news this afternoon as we sit here rehearsing for a big show tonight. Fulham versus Tottenham, big game for both clubs. And we've also got some coverage and analysis of Manchester United versus Arsenal, which we've just been arguing over. But firstly, Cara, you're a man that's embedded, shall we say, in the city of Liverpool. What's the sort of lowdown?
Well, the lowdown is that I think the supporters want to change more of the boardroom level than maybe the manager. But I do feel it is the right decision. I think Frank got the job on the back of Rafa Benitez having a similar sort of run. So I think if you come in and have a similar sort of run that the previous manager had, I don't think you can have too many complaints. And with Everton bottom of the league with Southampton at the moment, I don't think Frank can have too many complaints. But, of course, there's things going on behind the scenes, and that's why the Everton fans are very frustrated more with off-the-field stuff than on the field. I've
got two more questions on this one for you. Where do you put Frank's sort of problems down to? Obviously, last season you had all those massive celebrations, or should I say, receptions on the way to games. There's a massive spirit build. Everyone thought that would be the making of Frank Lampard. Is it the transfer windows have not been good enough, the players that have come in have not been good enough to improve, or is there other issues that you see?
Well, he hasn't spent a lot of money. They've lost Richarlison, who was the best player last season. They've tried to replace him, always going to be difficult too. But when you look at the attacking players who've come in, so he's brought in, almost on his first day, he brought Dele Alli in and Van der Beek from Manchester United, and they didn't work, it weren't really a success. But this season they brought Mopé in, because of the injuries to Calvert-Lewin. Dwight McNeil came in from Burnley. Again, not huge fees, 20 million for Dwight McNeil, 15 million for Mopé. But they haven't done anything, nothing at all. I mean, defensive players they brought in have done OK in terms of Tarkowski and Cody, but in terms of the attacking centre, the players that he's brought in have not done anywhere near enough.
On Saturday after the game, we saw one of our Sky Sports News reporters talking to the owners and board of Everton, Mashiri and Bill Kenwright. And Mashiri, quite interestingly, said, "It won't be my decision." Who is making it? What is the structure at Everton? Who is making the decisions on players, on transfers, on managers? Who has sacked Frank Lampard today?
I think it would be Mashiri. It's his money.
But he said on Saturday.
I know, but I wouldn't.
You think he's lying?
No. But it won't just be him. He may say, well, OK, other people involved in the board in terms of Bill Kenwright, East Barrett Baxendale, maybe Graham Sharp, who's on the board
and
as well.
And also the sporting director, Kevin Thelwell.
Yeah, of course, he's there.
He's been there for a year or so.
But what is the structure there? Because some clubs are clear about the structure of who makes the decisions.
That's the big problem.
What happens at Everton?
That is the big problem. So you've got a huge split on the board in terms of Mashiri at times making the biggest decisions, not the everyday decisions, I would imagine. That'll be down to Bill Kenwright, but Mashiri will be making the big decisions on managers. I have no doubt about that. Bill Kenwright's not bringing Rafa Benitez in, is he? Let's have it right. So that's the big problem at Everton Football Club. There's a massive divide on the board, and that's something we're going to get into in more detail on top of the show.
How hard do you think it is to be successful, Gary, if you don't have a fully functioning executive level, and potentially you have people operating in very different means? I mean, you can look at the betting for the next manager. The favourite is Bielsa. The second favourite is Sean Dyche. You probably couldn't have two different types of managers. We don't know if there's any truth in either of those, incidentally, but it suggests there is a little bit of confused thinking.
No, that's why I asked the question about who's making the decisions within the structure. And I look at Everton, I think even 2 or 3 years ago, they had a clear out of the medical department and sports science, where you think, when you start to sack your sports science department, the medical department, you are then, to be fair, if you like, blaming, if you like, the soldiers rather than sort of the generals. And I think looking at it from Everton's point of view, I mean, you'll know to your absolute delight that every season we do the ones to watch and which team is going to be watched this season. I think I've been on here 7 years and I've said Everton every single year. And that's because you just at some point think that all this money that they've been spending, at some point they're going to get it right. A manager is going to get it right. But they haven't finished in the top 7, I don't think, for 6 years now. They've spent quite a lot of money. And it does look like there is discord. And like I've said it about my own club, Manchester United, if you have 7, 8, 9 years of failure, then you've got to then stop looking at the people who are you've got to start looking above the people who are on the football pitch and in the coaching staff. You've got to start looking at the very top, because the reality of it is you've got embedded, sustained misery, and that's what Everton fans have. And do you know, it's sad. It's a little bit like I felt when we went to Newcastle when Mike Ashley was the owner. I feel a little bit like that when I go to Everton now, and it shouldn't be like that. It's a massive club. I said last week, Everton, going back all those years ago, 20 years ago, when significant investment came into Manchester City or Chelsea with obviously Roman Abramovich, Everton, why have they, they're the equal of these clubs in terms of scale and size going back 25 years. They could be where they are in terms of seeing globally.
They've had the investment.
I know, but nowhere near the same levels.
Nowhere near 500 million.
Nowhere near the same levels as Manchester City and Chelsea.
No, but I mean, it's off the scale the money Everton have had.
I know they've spent the money, but
off the scale, it's been an absolute joke.
But maybe Frank Lampard can take some heart from the fact that other ex-Everton managers have gone on to some decent things. You think of Carlo Ancelotti. Think of Marco Silva, who we watched tonight at Fulham in their live game against Spurs. It's an extraordinary job that he's done there, isn't it?
I think he's a really good manager. I think on this show championed him for the Everton job. I thought he'd be a perfect Everton manager. It didn't work out. Whether again Everton, pulled the plug too early. I think they've probably done that on one or two managers under Mashiri. But I think he's really shown himself here. And there's no one can tell me that Fulham's group of players are better than Everton's. I don't believe that. So I think it shows that the job he's done is absolutely fantastic. And I think I've said here a few weeks ago, Eddie Howe's probably done the best job in the calendar year where he took Newcastle from. But if you're looking at almost a manager of the year this season, up until now, halfway through, I think you'd say Marco Silva.
They must have paid a lot of money to managers as well, Everton, to leave over the last 6-7 years.
I'm talking about Fulham.
Must have cost them a fortune. I'm talking about people being paid to leave Liverpool. That's a bit of a result, isn't it?
He just wanted to get that line. Yeah. Does it feel like a big night for Spurs, though, Gary?
Yeah, really big. I mean, look, at Spurs at this moment in time, it's an interesting one because they're fifth in the league. They can get close to top four tonight, where people probably would have said they would have been at the start of the season. They're still in the Champions League. They're in the FA Cup. And they've got a lot to play for in the next couple of months. But there's that down feeling in the club, and there's that down feeling around the country and in the media and amongst us maybe about Tottenham at this moment in time, because it just feels like there's something happening with Conte. It feels like there's a bit of a drain going on. But let's see what happens tonight, because Tottenham could still have a really good season and they've got good players and they need to start performing. They were close at City, weren't they, last week, to causing a massive shock. Let's see how they are tonight.
7 o'clock for a bit more of these two. A bit of Arsenal, Manchester United and a lot of Fulham against Spurs. See you then.